Is this happening?
This is happening, dude.
Is it starting right now?
Yeah, we're in it.
We're in it right now.
We're inside the podcast.
We're in the barrel. We're in the barrel of the podcast,
we're in the
bro.
cut, dude.
Yeah, we're going over the falls of the podcast.
Yeah, freaking driving off that podcast cliff, man. Trying to make it to the other side of the canyon.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, dude.
I can't believe I'm finally here.
I know. Joe Sib in the house today.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, of course. Man.
Do you know you're one of the first people I ever saw when I started doing stand-up?
Really?
Sandy Danto introduced us.
Really?
First time ever at the Comedy Store.
Wow. When was that?
It'll be 10 years in January.
10 years in January. That's so awesome, dude.
And
I actually, you know that, dude. We started right around the same time.
Yeah.
I hit.
I think because you were already doing sets there and hanging out. So this is like.
I started stand up in January of 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we probably met sometime like.
Yeah. I just remember going up there. I was going up there with Sandy Danto, who I love, and he was so kind. And I knew Pauly from doing. I was in this movie with him called Biodome.
You're in Biodome?
I'm in Biodome, dude.
Wait.
Now everyone's like, well, okay, well, listen.
I know, right? Wait, what are you playing Biodome?
Our band, when I was singing for Wax, my band Wax, we were the band that plays in the Biodome. So you know what? So you know when it gets thrashed?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our band. And we do a cover of Do You Wanna Dance? And then we did that, and then while we're playing, the Biodome gets thrashed.
Dude, how fun was that shoot?
It was great because the thing that was such a trip was and I was talking about this walking around today. So where you live is literally where I moved here when I was 23 years old, came down from Northern California, got kicked out of my band in Northern California. Like, hey, bro, you're not happening. Time for you to girlfriend broke up with me, started going out with some dude, some metal guy with long hair. It was a bummer. I'm living, like in San Jose at that point. I got nothing going on. I had one bro that lived down here, and he was working at this record label called Slash. And he said, you know what, you've got to leave. You got to leave Northern California. You got to come to LA. And I was like, and what? And he's like, you'll figure it out. You could start a band down here. And I met these three guys from Chicago, and those were the three guys I started Wax with. So by the time we ended up doing Biodome, we had been on this crazy ride of, like, we got signed, we got dropped, we got re-signed. And then at a certain point, they needed a band for Biodome. And I remember I met Pauly, like, when they were putting it together, and he was just so cool. And I never ever thought about like doing stand up, but I kind of was nerding out on it with him. Yeah. But this was ages ago. We did the movie together, so we did the movie together. My band ended up falling apart, and I started the record label, Side One Dummy, and all that. But over the years, there was always moments where I'd run into Pauly, and he was always just super cool. And when I started doing the spoken, I was doing this show called California Calling, and it was like stories and photographs. And a friend of mine, Pauly, said, hey, I heard about this guy that's doing like this music show. Like, my mom, that's why she built that room. Like, she wants music in here. And he, reached out to me. He says, hey, do you know Pauly? I go, yeah. And he goes, you should meet him. So I came up. I remember I came up in it was a rainy day at the store. And he just said, hey man, you should bring your show in here. And he remembered me from Biodome, and he was just super cool. And then that turned into, I said, hey, I'd love to do that show here, because it was like storytelling. Yeah. But then I asked him, I'm like, but I want to do stand up. And he was like, at that time, I don't even know if she's around anymore. Crazy Cindy.
Oh yeah.
Crazy Cindy.
She doesn't do many shows at the Comedy Store anymore, but she was a staple there for a little bit.
Remember, she'd call people when she was on her treadmill. And like, you're like, she's like, I'm doing 3 miles right now. Can I get a spot? But he put me in touch with her, and then I did my first spot, like stand up spot, in January of like 2008. Yeah. And I was just like, oh wow, like, okay, here we go. But
then you got the bug right away.
Oh my God. I always, for me, it was one of those kind of things where, like, I'd been on stage singing in bands.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like whenever, since you know, it's kind of similar to our pal Dean Del Rey. I feel like you guys have a similar thing where you guys both have been in a lot of bands and stuff, and you've been on stage performing in front of like so many varying degrees of crowds, where there's like thousands to down to like, you know, those small like brutal band shows where you're just like, oh, there's a couple people here, I'm trying to get their attention, whatever.
Dude, I did tours like that where I always joke around like, we did this one tour. You drive around. It's just you're opening for someone and the headliner, and the difference is when you're opening, the headliner's watching you. When the headliner's headlining, you're watching them. That's the whole tour
hilarious.
for like you know. So like when I do stand up and they're like, "There's only 15 people here," I'm like, Dude,
not a problem. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I've driven 6 hours to play for less than this. Yeah,
but you kind of hit the ground running because you go in kind of knowing your voice a little bit more and having more life experience and having that stage confidence, which is the big thing, is just being used to being in front of crowds.
Totally. I mean, yeah, I think.
And that's the thing, like whenever, you know, obviously you've been doing stand-up like freaking 10 years now, but it's one of those things where even early on, whenever, you know, I'd see you around at shows, I would see you go up and I'm like, you can tell like when somebody has reps of stage time in, whether it be within comedy or not, just on a comfortability level. You know what I mean?
Being able to be like, okay, he knows how to grab the mic. He knows how to talk to the audience.
Yeah.
Does he have material? No. You know, like I remember.
Is he funny? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we like him? No.
Off stage,
I don't know.
He's a great hang.
Dude, that's the worst like compliment early on, is like, dude, you're so much funnier off stage. And you're like, oh man.
Dude, once Matt Bronger, I did a show, who I love Matt, and he was another guy that was just like, you know, because when I started doing comedy, I think also like people kind of tripped out on my my energy, because sometimes it can be perceived as like, dude, is this guy like super high on cocaine or something? And like, I've never done drugs, and then people are like, really? But when I came on to like doing stand up, I kind of approached it as like, yeah, band style, like you kind of hang with everybody. And I learned real quick, doesn't really work that way. You know, comics are, not that they're rude, but they're keeping to themselves. They're in their head. And now I understand how annoying I must have been talking to someone right before they were going up.
They're like literally looking over their set list, and you're like, and dude, I'm so excited to be here. And it's like,
like I want to apologize to everyone I did that to. But Matt Bronger once said to me, I got done doing a show at like El Coyote, or what was that place over in Silver Lake that they used to do shows at? I forgot the name. It was like a Mexican restaurant. Did you ever do a set
El
there?
Cid?
El Cid.
Yeah.
And I got done.
Yeah.
And it went terrible. You know, and I get off stage, and I see Matt and Brody Stevens, and like they're there, and I was so stoked they were there, but I was bummed because I just bombed. And Matt goes, and you know, I don't know how to talk like him, but he goes, you know what I loved about what you did, Joe? Like, you just kept going, you know, like you just never stopped. It kept going. It wasn't going well, but you wouldn't stop. You know, I'm like, oh dude, thanks. And then like, as I'm walking in my car, I kind of realized what he said to me. Like, dude, you weren't funny, but you didn't let up, and you got through your time.
I do. The backhanded compliment that I've gotten so many times throughout my career is like, man, you commit so hard. And it's like, it's a compliment, but it's also like, wait, did you like the joke though? Dude, you really stuck it out, man. You just stayed in it. Wow.
Yeah.
I could never do that.
I mean, dude, the room was so silent. One time I did a show at Meltdown.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I remember right before I was going on stage, I had material. Like I was like, I'm going to do this bit. I had bits. Like I'm not telling stories. Like I was trying to break away from storytelling guy, and you know, all that, you know, they're all there. And I remember, Jonah Ray, I get done with my set.
Oh, so this was like the Meltdown show.
Dude, this is the Meltdown happening.
This is like the hottest show in town for people who don't know about it. Yeah.
It was the hottest show in town, always sold out. Jonah Ray had me on his podcast.
That's where all the industry used to go to peep the comics who are on the uprise and all that stuff.
Dude, people were getting Netflix specials out of there, you know? But at this point, Jonah had me on his podcast, and I remember we were hanging out, and he goes, hey man, I want you to do the show. So then I get booked on the show, and I have this whole idea of what I'm going to do, and it's packed. And I was like, cool, the room is they want you to win. So like, I'm like, okay, cool. And right before I go up, there's this kid that worked with me at Side One Dummy, and he goes, dude, you got to tell the story of the blah, blah, blah. And he got in my head, and like a moron, I went up there and I tell this story, and the room is so silent. And when I got off, you know, I was like, I knew once I committed, I'm like, dude, I just jumped out of the plane, no parachute. And, this sucks. But I committed. And then I get there and I get done. And Jonah Ray says, man, dude, that was so great. I've never heard the room that silent before.
Oh, no.
And I just was like, I'm like,
dude, they were hanging on every word you were saying.
Yeah.
And you're like, I would have appreciated some giggles.
Hence, never got invited back.
Yeah. Well, that venue doesn't exist anymore, so there you go.
Yeah. On them.
Right, dude?
Yeah. But like you said, though, it's, I think, whether it's Dean or, other kind of comics that are like, they come out from music, or just any kind of stage background. Like, you know the ins and outs of how to hold a microphone, how to kind of deal with a crowd. I remember one time I went up at the Improv when I first started, and it was my first time going up, and this agent got me the gig, and he came down to the show and he goes, I want you to know right now, man, I've seen people die on this stage. So when you get up there, just know, man, if you mess up here, man, I mean, it'll stick with you. I mean, it's dangerous up there. And I was like,
he told you that right before you
go
on?
That night, leading up to it. And I go to the show and I'm like, and I said to him, I go, hey dude, I'm going to throw something out at you. Are there skinheads at this show? And he's like, what do you mean? I go, skinheads. Are there dudes in green bomber jackets that are going to come up on stage and grab me and pull me back to the back of the room and fight me? And he goes, no, nothing like that's going to happen. I'm like, that's what I've been used to. So as long as that doesn't happen, I'm okay. As long as no one physically threatens me with a knife that they made at home, I'm totally fine with bombing in front of everybody.
Yeah, your little mental threats that are going on right now, they're not going to phase me at all.
Yeah, because that was I felt like that was something, playing in bands and especially kind of the scene of music I came out of, that, I'd had those things happen to me on stage, and I was like, in stand-up, what I loved about it was that unlike a band, when you're a band, you're opening for someone, I opened for everyone from the Ramones, the Social Distortion. I mean, all these bands I just idolized as a kid. The only problem is no one wants to see you. They to the point where they will, I remember back in the day, they turned their back, just middle finger to you the whole set. And, you're still trying to be like, hey, what's up? But
I feel like you can you face not that extreme, but every once in a while with certain headliners that you open for, you feature for, you'll face that a little bit.
Yeah.
Where you're up there and you're like, this material works everywhere, but this crowd just does not want to see me.
They're not here to see
me.
They're
just literally not here.
Yeah.
There's something in the air where you're like, oh, I just have to do my time and get off.
Have you had that out on the road where something that's just crushing in another setting for you, and then all of a sudden you're featuring for someone and it kind of just crashed?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Any of them come to mind?
Oh man, it's just one of those things. I mean, for the most part, I've been fortunate to the headliners, quote unquote, that I've worked for have been, their crowds are pretty cool receptive. And they're pretty receptive for the whole show.
Yeah.
But some of the hard ones have been honestly, I mean, we did this recent one this was more of a music thing that happened, but dude, this was pretty special. We went up against the World Series.
Game 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Earlier this year.
Okay.
We were in Phoenix.
Okay.
And we kept delaying the game. It was that game that it broke the record for most innings.
Yeah, I totally remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're on stage that night
yeah.
doing the comedy jam. Okay.
Okay.
And Burr, had already pushed the show. Burr always closes out. He went first because he wanted to leave because we had waited so long already. And we do this opening. We're giving it everything we can, trying to win them over. And Burr goes up after us. We're like, hey man, we did our time to open the show, but we got to hand it over to you now. I know you're wanting to leave. You've been performing all day at this festival for All Things Comedy.
Yeah.
He gets up there, dude. He tries to tell a couple jokes and he just starts laughing at how bad the situation is because he probably hasn't been in that situation.
Yeah, but what's so great about him is that he addresses it.
He addressed it. He laughed it off, dude, and he goes, "What do you say we play some music now, huh?
Yeah.
Let's get to the song. I'm not throwing out new premises here in this bar gig in Phoenix. It's
yeah. I had a long time ago, not a long time ago, but a couple years back, Maz Jobrani.
Yeah.
He was one of the first guys to hey man, you know, if you see a date and you can make it, I'll let you come out and feature.
That's super cool.
So cool, man.
Yeah.
And he took me to San Francisco to do Cobb's, and I was like, oh cool, man, Bay Area. And I went up there with my son. You know, like I'm like, hey Nate, you know, my son at this point is probably like 12. I'm like, dude, we'll roll. You'll get out of school. You know, we'll hang. He's like, okay, great. My dad was still living in San Francisco, so we had a place to stay. It was awesome. I bring my son, and I'd opened for Moz before, and it had always been super, super cool. He has a good family audience, so like my material would work with it, you know. But I go up there and we do 2 shows, and I come out on the first show, and it's like my son, I'll never forget, my son's sitting at a table like right up front. I'm like, you know, all right, dude, watch dad right now.
I'm about to rock it,
dude. I'm not lying. Like I was like, dude, you're gonna remember this. Like at the funeral, you're gonna be like, I remember when my dad crushed
He killed it so hard, and he told me to sit right there, and
it was at Cobb's, and I just want to say, like, I totally imagine that moment. So he's sitting up front. And I remember I come out on stage and it is packed, man. This place is a big venue. And I'm like, okay, here we go. First bit, I'm going into it. And it was one of those things, you know, like I threw out the bit already thinking of the second bit, but no laugh. I'm like, all right. So I'm going again.
This is at Cobb's.
Dude, this is at Cobb's. No laughs, no laughs. Then all of a sudden, this is when I knew that I was just like, this is when I knew something was up, and it hit me. So, and at this point I'd been doing stand-up, like I'm like 5 years in, you know, and all of a sudden I start sweating, and I'm like, wow, I don't remember the lights being this hot at Cobb's, but what I realized was, oh, this is called flop sweat. Like I'm talking, dude, like I'm sweating like I mean, I'm losing LBs while I'm up there, dude. Like like the
like you're on the elliptical, just like,
dude, I've never sweated that much on the elliptical.
You turn into a Gatorade commercial.
Like at this point, it would have been like a Joe, it's like a Joe Rogan part, like a workout, you know? I'm just sweating, and I'm like, God, this is not happening. I finally get to the, okay, cool. I get done. And, you know, go off to just whatever, you know, lukewarm, whatever. And as I'm walking down to kind of grab my son, the spot is following me. And my son just, you know, the room's totally quiet. He goes, oh, that was so bad, Dad. No one laughed. He says it like that loud. And then that got the best laugh. Like everyone just starts laughing. I just look at him, and we go upstairs, and Moz is sitting there and he's laughing. And I go, Moz, what happened? He goes, oh, dude, I meant to tell you, you know, a lot of the people that are going to be at this show tonight, you know, their references and their English, you know, might not be on. Like, you know, there's a lot of Persian people here. There's a lot of, you know, Iranian people
so
here.
if you're doing certain pop culture references.
Dude, not even that, just like references of like, yeah, you know, when you're playing with your kids, and there's like, no, you know, like
we do not play with
we
kids.
do not. I never tell my children I love them.
No.
Like it was very much. I do not love my children. They work. You know, it was like, what?
I have a 5-year-old son, and he has a 60-hour-a-week job.
Absolutely.
Yep.
He makes coffee. I drink. It was like
he's very good. I think he has a future.
Yeah, it was very like so. Moz is laughing, and then but one thing I'll say, and this is something that I'll always remember. He didn't have to do this. He said, "All right," and he's about to go on, and he goes, "Hey, after this, let's sit down and we'll work. We're gonna get your set together for the next show.
We're gonna go over your set,
dude." Yeah. And I swear to God, he said, "Do more of this. Bring this. Say this. Do that one bit about." And that was one of the things that changed for me, because at that point, like he's like, "You're Italian, right?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Talk about that." He goes, "Everyone will dig that." And I'm like, "Really?" And then, you know, he really kind of pointed me in that direction. But the thing I always remember is he sat there with me. We rewrote my set. My son was there saying, you know, you should close with this, put this here. We go through it.
How old is your son at this point?
My son's 12 at this point, and he's almost 15 now. And he basically, we went back out second show, and it was way better, and it worked. And that was like it was a great moment for my son and I, because he saw like, dude, you bombed so bad. And then within, you know, an hour, if you sit down and work it out, you can come up with a better set. And the thing I always love though is that Moz, you know, as a headliner and as big as he is, he did not have to like give me that time. And he was like, let's fix this. He could have just been like, that sucks to be you.
That sucks, man. Figure it out.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people are.
Yeah. He was very like, let's figure it out together.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So that kind of energy, it worked out to be a plus, because it made me have to work it out.
Now, you mentioned that you're Italian. Now, we're getting a phone call. I think that your very Italian mother is actually calling in right now.
No way.
Yeah. Hello. Is this Joe's mom?
Joey, so excited for you. Hey, are you still coming up for Christmas? Because I've gotten the tree, and Andrew helped me get it. And you know, it was so great. When he was here, he drove his car over, and we put the tree inside. You remember the little spot that you used to get your ice cream at in SoCal? We went there together. Mom, you know what? We're doing this thing. I know. Now, are you still going to be coming up? The surf has been so good, Joey. I wanted to tell you that. Did you know that we were going to have a dinner? Mom. Dude, I love you, Mom, but
really commandeering
can I
the show,
say goodbye to her for 1 second?
No, you totally can. I'm, you know, your mom is actually surprisingly, she must be like second, third generation Italian because she's pretty Californian. Like, yeah.
You know, my mom is like she always reminds me you're Irish and you're Italian, and the Irish side is God's side. That's like a true thing.
Are you? Is it Mrs. Sib?
It'd be Mississippiando. Oh. That's really my last name, Sibiondo.
Oh, Mississippiando. Yeah. Did you have any other things to say to your son Joe before we wrap up this phone call?
I've started to do edibles.
What?
Yes, I discovered edibles.
Mrs. Sibiano, I don't know.
Me.
They don't affect you?
They don't. But I go down to the beach, and sometimes I walk down by the water, and I play with the starfishes and the dolphins, and sometimes I try to ride the waves.
Now, Mrs. Siviano, I have a feeling that the edibles are starting to actually affect you.
Okay, bye. I don't like this anymore.
No. I just think that they are affecting you more than you think.
I'm gonna play my flute. Bye.
Oh, you took up playing
flute? She plays the flute. She just suddenly plays the flute.
Dude, all right.
All right, Mom, bye. Bye, honey.
Well, dude, I think that the edibles...
Worst imitation of my mom ever. If my mom was listening, she'd just be like, oh, my God. The Italian side is my dad, my grandmother, all that. You know.
Okay.
Mom. Because my mom, like I said, she's Irish.
Oh, so she's...
But not Irish, like she was like... I did her so bad because like she was like working, like raised my sister and I, sold real estate, you know.
Yeah.
Smoked cigarettes, drank margaritas.
Just powerhouse.
Like,
powerhouse. Mom,
like
dude.
She was very like taking care of business.
Yeah.
Like I always say, the first man in my life was my mother. Like she just was so just, you know, like just very, don't take any shit, speak your mind, work hard.
She's like smoking, giving you condoms. All right, make sure you put these on.
You know what we bonded? I remember when I was a kid, when I for like a brief moment, I smoked cloves. Do you remember clove cigarettes?
I remember.
That was like a real punk thing to do. And
yeah,
like,
dude. Hey man, do you have any cloves?
Yeah, I never got that. Cloves, and then like every car I ever got into as a kid growing up, it was like the scent of patchouli because I was growing up in Santa Cruz.
Patchouli was big.
Patchouli, cloves, and then like Aquanet hairspray and leather, like this weird combination of odors. But my mom and I bonded because I started smoking cloves, and we both sit at the kitchen table, and she would smoke her Benson Hedges, and I would smoke clove cigarettes.
Yeah,
we'd sit there and talk and drink coffee. Yeah.
I find out your dad is a Marlboro man.
Yeah. At that point,
son, you need to quit smoking those cigarettes.
I smoked, but it was weird because I never like. Did you ever smoke?
No.
Yeah. It only was like a brief time.
Yeah.
You know, but you've never done any drugs either. Like, because I remember.
Yeah.
Like someone when I would talk about you, someone's like, you know, he's like you. You know, he's never done any drugs, and I was like, wow, like it's rare to.
Yeah, for sure. Was that hard being in bands and stuff and not ever doing drugs?
You know what? For me,
because you were in like a lot of the punk scene and stuff like that, and that's that's pretty big. You know, like it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of that. You know,
but you know, for me, like my whole thing is that like when I got into punk rock, you know, I was probably about 15, 14 years old, and then when drugs would kind of like I want to say like being into punk rock probably kept me away from doing drugs because I was able to like you know, at the time there was a band out of DC called Minor Threat that was really all about straight edge and, you know, all that. And I'm sure your listeners are like, yeah, we know who that is.
Yeah, we know Minor Threat.
Yeah, dude, we're not a moron,
bro.
Hey,
dude. Hey, these listeners, dude, we're freaking punk aficionados, dude. Yeah, continue with your story, bro.
And the thing that ended up happening was that like I think at that time that music was hitting so hard, and I really related to it. And then when I found out like those guys weren't getting high and getting loaded, you know, I mean, I drank beers, but I never was the dude that was like, I just never got into smoking weed. I remember one time in high school, like I went to see the Circle Jerks in San Francisco, and I bought Black Beauties from this guy. And, you know, he had like a Zeppelin shirt and like a little mustache, you know, like he almost kind of looked like you with a mustache.
Dude, the amount of people who say that I look like their college roommate or drug dealers or something from their past, like, I think I just have one of those, like, it's the hair mixed with the face and the, hey, what's up, dude?
I remember a while ago, I was listening to the podcast and you had a guest on and you did a bit like when someone goes, dude, you know who you look like?
Oh, Dave Ross, that episode. Yeah.
And then they show you a picture and you're like,
oh, dude.
I don't look like that.
Yeah.
And if I do, I'm bummed.
It never is. Yeah. I've never been stoked.
Yeah.
I've never been like, that dude's hot.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good looking guy.
Dude, what? Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Never. Yeah. Someone said to me, man, you know who you look like? And I was like, who? And they said the name of the guy that made like, I forgot he made that clear. It's like this tape where he drives around in a boat. Have you ever seen that commercial?
No.
It's like this. I know someone's
It's like an infomercial guy?
It's like an infomercial guy.
And you're like, I don't want to look like an infomercial guy. Why are you telling me I look like that?
Yeah, and of course, like my son looked it up. He's like, and then now around the house, whatever the dude's name is that invented this tape, they're like, and he's like this overweight, like, man. I'm like, dude, I do not look like that guy. But then like alone when you look at it, I was kind of like, I kind of look like that guy. You're like,
you don't want to admit it, like, dude.
Yeah, but when you're solo by yourself, you know. But
yeah, I just am reflecting at night and I'm like, I look like all those ugly people
laying there in bed crying.
It's like, oh no.
The thing though, I think the thing that kept me on, you know, out of doing drugs was like, I was just totally being honest. I was just super scared of something starting, not like I would become addicted, but like, I just like the fact it was called acid was totally poor marketing. Like if it would have been called good time all day, like I might have messed around with it, but like that freaked me out. And the fact
LSD is a much less harsh name. You know what I mean?
That still too gnarly for me.
Yeah, LSD.
Yeah, like what do those initials stand for? You know, like what is there? And then you know, it's all like it was too much for me to even comprehend that a trip could last 12 hours, maybe longer.
Some drugs, it's a freaking time commitment where you're like, I don't. Even if I was going to, I don't have the time to do that.
But when you're 14 or 15, you do. But there was people I know that like they'd be like, dude, he's frying, and even that's like wait a minute, frying.
Did you play music with any of those like kind of burnout guys who like did acid like all the time?
Guys I played with, the people that I played with, we had like a guitar player that used to do speed, but by the time we started playing together, he didn't, and he used to always say like, you know, like, dude, he goes, if we gave you speed or coke, Joe, it'd probably mellow you out, because like I was the kid that was like, I would go to the you know, punk shows, and back then it was like 7 bands. I'd pay full price, and then I was the kid that would be in the pit from the first band to the very end, staged like to the point where like the people that worked for the club, they would say like, dude, you should be in a band. And I remember this roadie saying that to me once. He was like this dude, you know, fully tatted and just like, you know, gnarly guy. And you're like a little kid, and he was just like putting away all the gears, the sound man. He's okay, putting everything in, you know, like putting the stage back together after a band had just played. And I'm just sitting there amped, and he's just like, man, like, are you in a band? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you should be. And I was like, I never even, I'm like,
you never
what
thought
would
of
I
that.
do?
You're like, huh?
Yeah.
I could do that?
Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you're more into it than the guys on stage. And I was like, I am? And he's like, yeah. And then that kind of was like the spark, you know? And then plus, since I wasn't doing drugs, it you know, in the punk scene then too, that drew me in was the fact that, you know, you'd get an idea like that, and you could find 3 other people and like go, okay, we're a band. No one has instruments. Guy's going to borrow a guitar, but like you start going, yeah, let's learn a song. And then you have your first practice and you're like, we're a band.
Dude, this is wild, but I have the roadie on the line who encouraged you to get into music. I think I
he was like a New York guy.
Was he? Was he a New York
guy?
Like
a lot of those dudes like in the hardcore scene would like move out here.
Okay.
You know, so he's a New York dude.
It's Joe Sib.
Yo, dude, is this CJ?
Yo, man, it's CJ, bro.
Oh, dude, what is up?
Hey, bro, I just want to call and tell you, man, I'm like really proud of you, man.
CJ, I gotta say, man, like from when you told me to start a band, dude. It's a trip that you're calling up too, man. And the fact that you went on to join the Ramones, dude, CJ Ramone calling in. This is crazy.
Yeah, man. This is me, dude. CJ Ramone, bro.
Dude, you sound exactly like CJ Ramone.
I mean, dude, that's how CJ sounds, man.
Yeah, man. So what's the latest with you, man?
Oh, dude,
Dude, you sound like him.
dude, I'll tell you, bro. Here's the thing. I'm actually your guardian angel, bro. I've been watching your stand-up career blossom. I couldn't be happier with what's going on.
Bro, I'm psyched, CJ, that you'd say that, and you know, you were such an influence back then, man. You're always so cool, man. Always so cool. You got it.
Yeah, you know, that's just one of the things that us guardian angels can do. We can change the pitch of our voice and stuff like that. And
but if you're my guardian angel, like, did you die? Like, are you not around anymore?
I mean, I can't disclose that information in the moment. But let's just say that I can be at 2 places at once.
Man, I'm stoked to hear from you, man. And thanks for calling.
Yeah, dude. Keep it up, bro. And you know, you never know. You know, for your listeners out there. Jeremiah.
Yeah, did you want to give us some advice to some of the listeners?
Yeah, you never know whenever you're going to get life-changing advice from a roadie. So listen to every roadie, to every concert you go to.
Absolutely. Those are the people you should hit up. Don't talk to the band. Talk to the guy moving the gear. Goodbye. Wow, man.
All right, that was cool.
From CJ in
Dude,
ages.
CJ Ramone calling in, bro.
You know what, man? And he's lived it.
Dude, he's lived every aspect.
Dude, he replaced Dee Dee Ramone, toured with the Ramones, and then now, man, it's Guardian Angel. I mean, I knew.
What more can you ask for in life,
he's friends with Hell's Angels. Like, he showed up with a ton. So he's like a lot of angels.
Dude, a lot of angel,
Hell's
mythologically,
Angels.
Hell's Angels, Heaven's Angels,
Guardian Angels,
Guardians Angels,
and like the Guardian Angels,
Joe's
Angel.
Yeah, dude, Charlie's Angels. He's a fan of that show, dude.
You know what?
He loves it.
He loves it.
He has that tattoo on the back of near his elbow.
His favorite
it's
part
just the
too.
silhouette.
His favorite part too is when Charlie's Angels boss would call in.
Yeah, dude.
Tell him what was up.
He has a lower tramp stamp that just says full throttle on it. Yeah. It's wild, man.
Dude, it's good to hear from people. My mom.
Dude, a lot of people calling in from your past, which is
Yeah.
always exciting. Like, people, you know, the way that this show reaches people, I'm always blown away by the fan base of this audience. You know, like, people really, you know, they tap in and they kind of feel whenever, you know, we're going live from my place.
And you know what? Like, coming in today, the last thing I thought I'd hear from people like that.
Now, dude, you actually have just been touring with freaking Metallica, bro.
Dude.
How has that been?
Bro.
Bro. Don't get me started, man.
Dude. Man, going out. I mean, well, first of all, like, the fact that it even happened is nuts, because that, if you would, you know, like, what we just talked about for the last 30 minutes, you know, music was my life. Of course, growing up in the Bay Area, Metallica. That's
so huge.
Yeah. I mean, Metallica, even as a kid, growing up, if you weren't a fan, you respected who they were. And me being a fan, I remember going to shows before they blew up, and you know, James and Lars would be at a show. I remember when GBH came through, or like bands like Crucifix would play, they would be there. And then all of a sudden, you know, when Master of Puppets came out, they just exploded. And, you know, even before that, they were just so huge. And seeing like a band that stuck to who they were and never wavered, like, with their ideas and thoughts and their approach, to blow up like they did. So they were just they were so respected. And then if you would have told me, you know, as a kid, like, hey, check it out, you're gonna open up for them, I'd be like, oh, cool, man. Like, in a band? No. DJing and doing comedy, I'd be like, I don't want to do that. That's gonna suck. That's a nightmare.
Yeah, that sounds like a hell gig.
Yeah, that sounds like you die.
I'm opening for a band where the audience they may hate me.
Dude, comedy before band, you know, it can work sometimes, but generally it doesn't. But the ingredient that makes it all work is Jim Burr. He was the one that, you know, he's friends with those dudes. So So, like, you know, Lars and James, they're his bros, and they hang, and like, so they they'd been kind of kicking around this idea forever. And I was just, featuring for Jim.
Yeah.
I was, working for Jim, doing shows. And it just got to the point where I was around enough that, I'd be there when like Lars would call or James would call. And then basically what ended up happening was they started kicking around this idea like, hey man, what do you think about coming on the road? And Brewer was just like, yeah, that could be cool. But like, it was very like open-ended. And then all of a sudden, right around the summertime, it turns into like, hey man, this is looking like it's going to be a reality. And then
and every phone call or every text you're getting, you're like, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
You know what it was? I'll tell you right now. I was stoked. I was super happy for Jim because he loves Metallica. Like that's his band.
Well, one of his you can tell how much the Jim loves music just based off of some of his comedy specials. The amazing rock impressions that he's able to do. Anybody that, like, for the most part, like whenever you're doing impressions of different artists, most of the time the people doing impressions, it's because they like that person and they love watching them. So they've naturally...
His Brian Johnson, his Lars, his James, he nails it. I mean, the thing is, he's another dude that can sing. Like,
he can sing, dude.
He can sing. And then so when it was all coming together, I was just stoked for him. I was like, hey, you know what, man, that's going to be good. I'll come out and see you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
my buddy's getting this great gig, dude.
That's all it was. And then all of a sudden in July, he gives me a call and he's like, hey man, I just hung up with Lars and they just said that I can bring someone with me. And I go, really? And he goes, and I always say, like, he goes, do you know how to DJ? And I'm like, totally. He's like, do you have the gear? I'm like, absolutely. Like, never DJ'd, didn't have the gear, and I was like, how hard can it be? And then, we
do you guys have an iPod hookup anyway?
Oh my God. If I told you
like this giant, like, fake set piece that you set up and then you just like plug in this little aux cord.
Yeah. And of course, me being, over prepared all the time, that like when I got the gig, I like literally, I went down over in Glendale. There's like this DJ place and I go in there and I'm like, hey man, I'm going on this tour. And they're kind of like, oh really? With who? And I'm like, Metallica. And they're like, they look at me like, what? Yeah. Do you not DJ? No. Like if you bought the gear, they give you a little class that comes with it. And I was like, but the guy was
Meanwhile, the guy working behind the counter is
so
like,
pissed. Oh. But the thing, when I say, DJing, I'm not like doing mixes. It was like, all right, dude, I'm going to go from, Pantera track into Dio.
Yeah.
So
it's like simple, like rather than, like,
I'm not doing any of that. Yeah. Yeah, there's no like, none of that. But the thing that was cool though was, I bought all this gear and it was going to be like, oh my God, here we go. And then it ended up that like, I literally, what you said, I have my computer and I run the whole show off of just my laptop, which is a trip because I did buy all the gear and I used it for one show only. And then like, I just was like, there's no need for this, So now I just run everything off my computer. Is DJs coming?
There was.
I was waiting for the call.
You were waiting for the call?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that. I mean, there might be. I guess there's a. Wow, you predicted the phone call?
I don't know, man.
Dude, did you see the call? You must have saw the caller ID screen light up.
Yeah, I was like, "There's no way he's calling in." That would be a trip.
Let the bass drop.
Boom. There's no way a beat's calling in.
Yo, this is the beat.
Hey, you're the same beat I've heard in so many songs. What's that like?
It feels good.
Are all the beats just hidden?
Yeah, hell yeah.
But like, where does the beat originate from?
Hell yeah.
The birth of the beat.
The birth of the beat. Welcome.
I like.
Do you have any questions for the beat?
Yeah.
Hit it up right now, Doug.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Why is it every song almost starts out the same with your beat, and how do you feel about that?
Let the bass drop. Well, here's the thing. I sometimes actually get kind of melancholy because music starts to shift and become the same thing from different artists, and I'm like, there's so many opportunities out there to make your music eclectic in different styles, but I feel like sometimes, I was born with this voice that I get a little bit pigeonholed. You know, like I would love to be on some different genres of music, but I'm just stuck in this techno festival garbage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you know what though? I gotta tell you, man, you don't want to be stuck and you're the beat. Like when you're the beat, you're not stuck. Like people everywhere dig what you're doing. Like what would be some other genres that you'd want to go into?
Man, I'd love to do some classical, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I never have thought that about you.
Could you maybe sing some strings with your voice right now?
I mean, I could just sing for you. This maybe just
okay, cool.
Or maybe strings like.
Yo, this violin. Yo, this violin. Yo, this violin straight tripping. Did that work for you?
It could.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm going to sing. I want you to sing with the beat, though.
Okay.
Give me what you're good at, and then let's kind of see if that can work. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to count it. You count it off.
I'm going to start beatboxing. Okay.
Drop it in. Flying over the sunsets and children in the morning. Is that possible? Sunsets?
I don't know, man. Sunsets and children in the morning, man.
Yeah.
What kind of weird
That's
child
like metal,
music
dude.
are we producing
metal,
right
bro.
now?
I went metal.
Children and sunset in the morning.
Whoa.
Wait, do you think
You could go into that.
Can I go into metal, man?
Dude, I think you could totally go.
Children and sunset in the morning.
There you go.
Man,
See?
I think I might have found my new calling.
Man, well, beat, I appreciate you calling. I've always wanted to talk to the beat.
I'm literally the beat
You
that
are
you
the
hear
beat.
on every song that bass drop. But I might get into that's cool. I might get into some metal stuff now. You've given me the confidence
Absolutely.
to get into that. Maybe some screamo.
Dude, some screamo.
My parents hate me. What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah. I love it. Dude, give me, you know what, man? How about we do this? You hit me a demo. Hit some of your new vibe to me, and you know what? Maybe I can give it to Metallica and see if they dig it. Maybe instead of them bringing Ghost out, they bring the beat out. What do you think?
I mean, you got me all emotional over here, man. I'll take you up on that.
All right, man.
You know, man, I'm a garage band aficionado, so I'm gonna put some beats together and I'm gonna send them right over your way, dog.
Yeah, man, and don't limit yourself, beat. You got the sky's the limit for you.
We got the B, we got the B, we got the B.
Did you always hate when they did that?
Yeah, I hated that song.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't got the beat. I got the beat because I am the beat. Now get out of my face.
All right. Thanks for calling, beat. Dude, I never thought that I would.
Dude, did you ever think that you talked to the beat?
No. And on the way over here, I heard that beat. When I was in Ralph's,
You hear that? You hear it everywhere, man. It's pretty ominous, actually.
So many bass
But
dropping.
it's understandable, you know, why he's a little bit upset. He's being underutilized. Let's get into this next segment, fanning out.
Fanning out.
Fanning out. Questions from fans.
I reached out to people online and I said, if you could ask Joe Sib any question, what would it be? Got a few questions here for you.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our first question is from our buddy Grant Cotter. He says,
Oh, shit.
He says, ask him about Craig Johnson.
Oh, shit. Dude,
I
if
love
we
that.
could get Craig Johnson on the phone, that would fucking rule.
I mean, I think that we can.
Dude, I haven't talked to Craig Johnson in so long. Craig Johnson skated for Zorlak Skateboards. He was a hellraiser. Unlike me, that guy, I think he's died before, been brought back from the dead. He, big, tall guy. Like first time I met him was and there's a club down in Dallas, Texas called Trees. And we were doing a show, and we were our first time going through Texas, and growing up in San Jose, you know, I grew up with like Steve Caballero and Corey O'Brien, Gavin O'Brien, all these like legendary skateboarders.
Yeah.
And so I knew who the Zorlak riders were, and all of a sudden this fight broke out, and I was standing out in front of the club, and this dude goes, "Dude, Craig Johnson's getting into a fight," and I'm like, "The Craig Johnson?"
Yeah.
And I roll over there, and there's this dude, 6 foot something, vest on, dreads, no shirt. He has this leather or this like denim vest, and he's just working this dude. He's got this dude in a headlock. He's just wailing on him, and I'm kind of buzzed. And I roll up, and I go, I go, man, dude, you Craig Johnson? He's like, hell yeah, what's up, brother? And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then he looks at me and I go, hey, man, I'm Joe Sib, man. I'm from San Jose. I grew up with Stevie and all these. And I start talking skating with him while he's still punching this dude. And he goes, really, you're from San Jose? All right, puts his hands up. Dude runs away, like shimmies out. He's like, let's go drink. We go into the bar. We start drinking these things called Mind Racers, which like literally like, it was like root beer and schnapps and all of that. And he ended up being one of those guys that I didn't realize. I would go to his house and we would literally, it would be 4 a.m. and we'd be raging, just drinking beers. Everyone's having a great time. But I didn't know everyone was on cocaine. And they would, I'm not making this up.
You're like having trouble keeping up.
No, dude, I wouldn't have any trouble keeping up. They thought I was on cocaine. So it was this weird thing where they thought I was on cocaine.
I went to a cocaine party once and people thought I was on cocaine. They're like, what are you on, dude?
That's what they said. Oh, dude, Sib, when are you going to break it out? And I was like, I didn't know what they meant by when am I going to break it out? And then at one point, I'll never forget him, his bros, they start fighting each other and they took their friend and they threw him through a window. And then the guy, they said, and then that guy came back in bleeding and apologized and then kept hanging out all night after they threw him through a window. I was just like, all right, these people,
man, this is a different kind of friendship that I'm not used to.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. But Craig Johnson, legend.
Dude.
Legend. I did a show in Dallas, Texas last year. No one came to it. It was like this bar show and it was like the bar staff and there might've been like 20 people there and I'm starting my set. And at a certain point I was just like, you know what, man, like, okay, I'm not going to do material. And then I said, man, I used to come down to Texas and I used to come down to Dallas all the time and hang out with this guy named Craig Johnson. Does anyone know? And everyone in the bar that worked was like, Craig Johnson. Yeah, they were like, Craig Johnson, no way, you know him. And I'm like, yeah. And I started telling Craig Johnson stories. And then the next day I get a phone call and it was from Craig Johnson going man, you were in town. I can't believe you're here. You missed your show, but everyone told me you told stories. So like, yeah, he's just a legend.
That's so awesome.
Legend,
dude. This one comes from on Instagram at tiniest_pigeon. What was the craziest experience that happened to you while playing live with any band?
Craziest experience that ever happened playing live. Like, I think like for me, like
any danger or threat levels.
Well, I mean, like,
you mentioned like a little bit earlier. But.
Yeah, one time I was doing a show. I remember we were at this place in San Francisco called it was called The Farm. And because they had like a farm in the back of the club and literally, but then during at night, they had this huge barn. It was massive, but it was like a good venue and they did shows.
What do you want to eat here?
Yeah, exactly.
We're just going to go on the back, kill it real quick and then put it on the grill for you.
Yeah, we'll fire it up for you. But we played in this place called The Farm. And I remember one time we were open for this band, Verbal Abuse. And at that point it was like when there was a lot of crossover metal bands like Corrosion Conformity, bands like DRI, bands like Verbal Abuse. And then my band at that point, we were doing a show and at that point I had like super like spiky blonde hair and like that was my whole vibe. And I remember I thought we were killing it and I did a stage dive during our set and I land on the crowd. And at that point, Verbal Abuse still had this like big skinhead following, and all of a sudden, like I feel myself getting past, but not towards the stage, like further and further, like the music, like my band's playing, but they're still jamming. So I'm like, okay, everything's cool. But then I get further and further away. And now I'm in the back of the room and like my band's, on stage and I'm surrounded by probably like back then it was called the Bash Boys, Bay Area Skinheads. And there's like 6 of them and they are not feeling me at all. But me, I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? Like, dude, you guys were
being all jovial. Hey, man, you guys enjoying the show?
Dude, so much.
Yeah.
And they just proceeded to just wreck me. And I remember at a certain point, like, I was wondering, like, is anyone in my band going to, like, come back to rescue me? And I literally, like, I got out of there, but I had to go back on stage and finish the song. And then I remember at the end of the night, I said to, like, the band, dude, why didn't you guys come and get me? And they were like, dude, we weren't going to get in the middle of that. I'm like, fuck. They're like, dude, those dudes are gnarly. And I'm like,
you're like, I know, yeah. I was in between them. Yeah. I was terrified.
Yeah, I'm sitting there with my spiky blonde hair and my bandana on. They weren't feeling it, man. I was like, yeah, we did. And then, this is the thing back then that like is so funny. It's like, so, that night doesn't go well, right? Well, back then, if a band asked you to go on tour, you didn't question. Verbal Abuse, the first time I ever left the Bay Area, it was to go on tour with Verbal Abuse at this time when like everywhere they went, skinheads, every show ended in like I remember there was either a stabbing or a fight, and you didn't even question it because you were just stoked that your band was on tour.
Yeah, you're like, hey, we're doing it, guys. We're on tour.
And we were all skaters, you know, from San Jose. So like all we wanted to do is like we'd get to every city, and it was just like first thing you do, go to the skate shop, find a ramp, find a place to skate, find a place to stay, do the show that night, and then just figure out, you know, how are you going to get to the next show. And it was also like those tours that was like while you're on the road, shows are constantly getting canceled. So you're like, dude, we're going on tour for 30 days.
Yeah.
And then it's just like the whole time you're out there, like it would just be standard like, oh, hey, dude, yeah, El Paso canceled. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, there's a murder.
Yeah, or no, it'd just be like shows canceled. Okay, so where isn't it goes to El Paso, and then from there, you know, well, the next show's Albuquerque. Oh, that got canceled too. So then all of a sudden, you've been gone for a month, but in reality, you just really partied and hanged out at people's houses and did shows there. But I never thought anything different. Like I thought that's the way it's supposed to be.
That's the dream anyway. Is just being out on the road with buddies and touring. It's like, dude.
Yeah, and just as long as there was like, you know, places to skate and people that were cool to hang out with, I was fine. I was like, let's just go.
What would you say is like the best or the proudest you've been of a skate trick that you've done?
Oh, me. There was a moment in time when I was learning hand plants, and I could get them like near coping, so I was super stoked on that. And then I lost those. But one of the things that like it's funny because all the tricks I could do up until like probably I was like 23, like, you know, sweepers, backside airs, frontside airs, you know, like I never could learn rock and rolls. That was weird. I could do fakie rocks, but I couldn't do those.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Cause I was like, this is all pre like kick flips and, you know, all the skating my son does. It's like the tricks, you know, that they're
all, so complex now.
And then
like, little kids too. It's just, it's a dream crusher. You go to the skate park, you're just like, oh man.
Yeah. But and also like, you know, even the vert skaters that I watch, like, you know, on Instagram, I've you know, you got Pal Peralta coming through, Thrasher coming through, and I'm just watching these kids. And you know, like one of the guys I love is Herbie Fletcher's son. I'm forgetting his name, but he has like this beard. Oh my! I watch him skate. He does these ollies, frontside ollies, dude, that are like they're as high as your house. They're like 9 feet out, and he's just no gear, no helmet, no shirt even. He's just ripping, and his style's so good. I love watching him skate. And that's the other thing too, is it's so accessible that now, you know, when you're watching, you're like, oh, okay. Back, we had a magazine. We had, you know, it started out with like Skateboarder, Action Now, Thrasher. Right. You had to wait every month, and then you know
once a month, and then you're just like looking at these dope pictures of the progression of the trick.
The big thing was when like Glenn Friedman or one of those guys, you know, Terry Bone or any of those guys, would take a photo that was like. Like 4 shots in a row.
Dude.
So I remember like watching Steve Caballero at the Upland. I love the photo so much. It's him at the Gold Cup series in the 80s, and he's doing the Caballero where he comes up backwards, and it was a big deal. I know like people were like, that sounds lame, but or whatever, but it was like
it's never been done before.
A 360. It was a 360 ollie. So like he comes up backwards, clicks it off the coping, spins all the way around, lands it. And there's this one shot where he's coming back into the bowl, but as a kid, we weren't able to see it. And, you know, now we're just so used to like, oh, okay. That's how you do it. I mean, dude, even with stand up, I mean, I think that has a lot to do why all of a sudden someone gets up on stage and you're like, that guy just crushed it, because you can watch stand up and go, okay, this works, that doesn't work. And and for some people,
there's so much more to access now.
So much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would say, my favorite trick that I wish I would have kept was regular hand plants on coping.
Nice.
Yeah. But if there was a trick, now if you ask me, like, if there was one trick that I always wanted to do, it'd be a frontside invert. Yeah. Steve Caballero does those like so good.
Busting them out.
Yeah. Just love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Love it, dude.
Okay.
This is from Tyler Stanner D Comedy on Instagram. I got a couple. What's your favorite part about going on tour with Metallica?
Seeing the band every night.
Yeah, just getting to hear the music.
Yeah,
every
getting to
night,
hear the
seeing them
music every
perform.
night, getting to see the music every night, getting to I mean, and I know the thing that has totally been the best part about it, and I love the show that Jim and I are doing. That's amazing. But the thing that I love about it is the magnitude of, like, and you know this as a comic, like, you know, like you'll get to do a really big show. Like, let's say you go, you know, Bill Burr says, all right, Jeremiah, you're coming out on the road with me. So, you know, that you guys do a Normo place, right?
Yeah.
And you're in there for one night, right? And you have access and you're like, oh my gosh. And then, you know, you might get done at the end of the night and you hit it out of the park and you feel good, but you're like, God, man, if I could just have like, it went so fast today. Like, we got here and before I knew it, I was on stage. Dude. Man, I just wish I could do it again, because the next time I do it, I would really take it in, and I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't rush, or I wouldn't get on the phone and get stressed about something at home. I would have really dropped into it. The best thing about being on tour with Metallica is that, you know, we just finished our 21st show, and just from, you know, it might just be because of the age I'm at, it's like I really appreciate the magnitude of how big it is. And I know this sounds corny, but, like, you know, we're in Salt Lake City at the place where their basketball, the Jazz play, or we're in Vegas where the King, I'm not a sports guy, sorry. But, like, I know these venues because I see them on TV. You know, you're sitting there waiting to fly somewhere, you're in your hotel room, like, and now I love, like, the other day I was sitting, waiting to go on stage somewhere, and they were watching the Kings or whatever the hockey team is for Vegas, and it was in Vegas. I'm like, oh shit, dude, for one day I was there with Metallica. See that zone down there? I was down.
That's where I was performing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, what's also cool about those kind of venues is backstage and in the back hallways leading out to the stage where they have the stage set up. They have most of the time they have pictures of all the people who have performed or played there over the years, and that's whenever you start to really look around and be like, this is really special. I'm super grateful for what's going on right now.
And as you pursue whatever you do, I've always said to people, because I've been really fortunate, like, being in bands, you know, getting signed, touring with bands. There was a time in my life where, you know, when I was younger, that I was so focused on, like, the next thing. And I didn't even know what, like, living in the moment meant, because I was so like, okay, cool, that show went well. Okay, cool, what's going on here? What's ticket sales like there? Oh, cool, is the single getting played? Okay, cool. Hey, how'd we do on merch tonight? Okay, that's cool, yeah. Oh, you guys were so great tonight. Oh, hey, man, thanks. Okay, cool. So what's going on in Detroit? Are we selling tickets there? Okay, cool. Like, you're just so, you know, focused on those things. And on this particular tour, I was like, you know what, man? I know for a fact this is never, ever happening again.
Yeah.
And as far as touring goes, I'm never going to get to do, like after this, you're never doing it at this level again. I don't, even if you were to blow up as a comic, you're never going to be doing it at this level again. And I've really went out of my way to every night just take it in and to really, like, I mean, all the security people that are local, hey, what's up? You meet these people, they're usually retired, and they're like, yeah, you know, they're working the catering door, or like the guy that has to stand in front of me all night. I'm like, dude, what's your name, man? You meet them. And then a lot of times, dude, I'll go out in front when the crowd's coming in and just, you know, and now because I've been on the tour, you know, people are like, hey, dude, you're the guy that's out here with Brewer. And I'm like, oh, and that's super cool. But I would say the best thing about it is just the magnitude and the organization that Metallica brings. It's like, it's amazing.
I'm sure it's amazingly special. I try to remind myself anytime, you know, I have the privilege to work on a set or something outside of, you know, the normal comedy club setting or whatever, that's not like the norm. I really try to be grateful in that moment for that opportunity and not be like, when's the next thing? Because you get everybody out here in LA, New York, wherever you're pursuing, you know, this field, whether it be music, comedy, whatever, with any job really, you get a promotion. You're like, yeah, but it's not like quite the level that I wanted to be at. It's like, enjoy that right then and there, and then appreciate the next thing, but live in the moment and be grateful for what you've accomplished so far.
Yeah, and you know what though, you nailed it though when you said it's in anything that you do. Like if you're, you know, if you're at your job, or if you're with your family, you're with your girlfriend, you're with your wife, you're with your husband. It's like you have to drop into that moment. And the other thing is that you nailed something so hard, because like when I first got the gig, you know, I had a couple people go, well, you're not doing stand up. And I could tell, like, you know, when someone gives you the backhand, like, oh man, I'm stoked for you, man. It'd be cool if you were doing stand up.
It's a weird jealousy thing, man.
But it was like
people are very insecure, and I feel like they project a lot whenever they say stuff like that.
You know, and it was kind of like, I was like, all right. And then I started getting in my head, like, yeah, you know, maybe like, you know, when Jim brings me on stage, like I gotta be funny and I'm gonna do a joke and I'm gonna do this. And then at one point, Lars said something to Jim that Jim said to me, and it was like, he's like, you know what? Lars said the best thing, like, you guys just go out there. You guys necessarily don't have to be funny. Metallica just wants you guys to be here to basically make a fan experience, and it doesn't have to be funny. And I was like, dude, that's the key. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on like what my gig is. My gig is to play any music I want, get people fired up by the jams, and also set it up for Jim to fucking win. And I was like, I'm going to just focus on that. And the moment that I just started doing that, that was when I really felt like everything came together, and the show turned into the show that we have now. Like that's why I was asked to be here. Don't try to force something. And just being totally honest, I have been a guy that's tried to force things in places sometimes that just, you're like, dude, really? Maybe now's not the time to be that guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all guilty of it, as especially, just trying to like.
It's one of the first times I was like, dude, do what you got hired to do.
Yeah.
You're supposed to spin music, and you're supposed to do a thing where you tell a story about your dad taking you to concerts and how you're going to go find someone in the upper level deck. I told the story to Lars, and he was like, why don't you bring people down then? I go, can I? He goes, yeah, I'll give you just every night, bring down a handful of people.
Dude,
so
that's
I do that
amazing.
every night. And that's all because
I bet people freak out, man.
Dude, they go nuts.
I bet like after the show, they have to be so grateful to you.
Dude, imagine this. You just went to the show and you worked your ass off to get these $100 tickets, but unfortunately, you're up in section 319.
And the nosebleeds, maybe.
Nosebleeds, dude.
Yeah.
Like, talk about, you get vertigo, you're so high up there. Like, like if you're afraid of heights, it's a trip. And
you've been saving for months for you and your girlfriend, or maybe your son or daughter, whatever.
And every night, the band lets me go up there, and I go to a section. I get to pick any section I want, and I always pick like a father and son, or a mother and daughter, or mother and son, and I always do that. And then I always say, I told you I'm going to go to the very last thing, and I run all the way to the top. And then there's these two, there's always these two people. They're sitting in the last seats, and they're like, is he really coming up here? And then and they're always totally wasted, because there's like, and or like the other night I brought these kids down. They were so high, and and you get to mess with them too. You're like, hey, what's up? And they're kind of looking, because they're on camera now. Because I'm like, hey, what's up? Portland, Oregon. Look at these two.
On the freaking jumbotron.
Hey, what's your name, man? And they're just like, and I'm like, do you want to go on the floor? And they're just like, okay.
My name's Dexter.
Yeah. This one kid, I was like, how, we're in Portland, and I'm like, how high are you? And he's like, just looking at me, he goes, it's kind of like a dream. And the whole crowd just goes, yeah. Yeah. I had one person staring at me, and I didn't have my hat on, and my hair was all slicked back, and this lady's like, she yells at me, I like your hair. And I was like, oh, really? She's like, it's like you're going fast, but you're not. You're like, all right,
cool.
Do you want to go on the floor?
The product's working. Yeah. Heck yeah.
It's funny too when you get up there too, because you'll have people that don't want to go on the floor, or like,
they're like,
they're like, no. I'm like,
really?
Yeah.
It's floor seats. Yeah.
It's true.
No, I'm more comfortable up here. I don't want to make the trip down.
But that's been super fun.
Dude, this is wild. Lars from Metallica is actually calling into the show right now. Hello, Lars?
Lars. No way.
Hey, I'm just calling for like Joe Sib. Is Joe Sib? This is Lars from Metallica. We're really grateful you're out on the tour with Jim, and it's been fucking great having you out there. I'll say this, that I didn't really even know you were on the tour until I heard that you were on Jeremy's show, Jeremiah.
It's okay, Lars.
Name wrong.
Lars, you try to call me Jeremy all the time, and I'm like, it's Jeremiah. I'll let it slide once, but
yeah, it's fucking great, right?
It's great.
We're just excited to have different opening acts. Metallica's always been about just giving people the best show possible, and this concert's kick ass.
Now, Lars, is there any part of Metallica's career, or part of any of your catalog of songs that you regret putting out, or that you're not a personal fan of?
I don't regret any of it. James, whoa, he's in the background. James, is there any songs that possibly you may not be a fan of now at this particular moment in our career? Yeah, just whoa.
Man, he is. He's a screamer.
Yeah. there isn't anything that personally I'm not a fan of. I just think that Metallica kicks ass. Just that's all I've.
Okay, yeah. You're drinking your own Metallica Kool-Aid. I like that.
Metallica is such a band that me and James put together, and as you can tell, I'm just running out of steam in this particular moment.
Hey man, I like that you are calling it out, that you're letting me know how you're feeling, but you've been touring a lot, so I totally get that you're gassed, brother.
You know, it's just that Joe is just so bad at doing characters, and he's trying his hardest right now. And Jim Brewer is much better at this, and hopefully Jeremiah, you can get Jim Brewer to come on your show, because obviously your listeners are realizing that Joe Sib is not so good at doing the imitation.
Hey man, Lars, I think you're being really hard on Joe right now, and you know what? I actually really appreciate anytime a guest comes on the show and really gives it their all. And I'll tell you what, Joe has done that on this show, so I really appreciate that.
Well, as you can tell, maybe the call should end, and Metallica just wants to say, we'll be through LA at a certain point, and just super grateful for everything, and just come out to a show if you can. We'll kick ass.
Yeah, I'll come out to a show. Thanks,
Lars. Thanks for having me out there, bro.
Appreciate it, dude.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was super nice of him, to offer tickets, and
Dude,
he was a little transparent with you. I don't know if I liked him throwing you under the bus like that, but I thought,
oh man, dude, that's the only guy I could do, man. Hey, man, for the listeners out there,
that's great.
I hope that my stories have overshadowed my lack of I haven't the characters in my life, I got to work on them. Lars is the best I can. That was the best.
Lars is great.
Yeah, I tried that. Next question.
Oh, the second
what was
question.
the second part?
Also opening for a band like that, were the fans receptive to hearing comedy? And I really enjoyed your set at the Blue Lagoon in Santa Cruz a few months back.
Oh, that was killer. That was super cool. DNA runs a great show. Do you know DNA out of Santa Cruz? Oh, great guy. Great guy. You should go up there.
Cool.
Santa Cruz has I'm from Santa Cruz, and I'm not just saying this because I grew up there, but when I left, there was no comedy scene, and now there's a particular comedian, DNA, who's just literally he's like a gardener of just cultivating comedy up there, and they have for a town that's probably the size of so small. He has I want to say that sometimes there's up to 3 or 4 shows a night all over the place. He finds these hotels and different rooms, and it's a great place to work out. I went up there, and when my mom broke her hip, and it was crazy. I'd visit her in the hospital during the day, and then it's so bad. I was like, I wonder if, and DNA's like, you want to do a set? And
I could do a spot.
Yeah,
I mean, you're in town. Yeah.
Do you find yourself I kind of felt like I told my mom. She's in the hospital. And I was like, she's like, so, I'd spend the day with her. And then at night, she's like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to go do some spots. And she's like, great.
Yeah.
But
you've spent the whole day. Though. Well, it's because your mom is hurt and in the hospital and you're a terrible son, but it's okay. No,
but have you found yourself doing spots and maybe going to visit someone and then you're like, I'm going to do a spot.
Yeah. Well, I try. I really try not to do that because I'm so invested normally throughout the week. My schedule is pretty crazy. So I try if I'm visiting, my wife's family or I'm going home, I try not to squeeze in spots there because my normal week, on a week to week and a month to month, is so intense that I try to give them that time and devote that time to them. So I'm completely focused, because it usually makes the trip better if I'm not and I got this spot over here, and then I'm trying to be oh, well, I gotta go, guys. Sorry.
And also whenever and I don't know about you, but even if you have a spot and let's say you're hanging out, you have a spot tonight or whatever, during the day, I don't know about you, but even
it's still in the back of your mind.
It's all in the back of my mind.
Yeah, so you're not completely present with the situation that's going on there, which I have to work on.
One of the reasons
all the time.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember reading a story about a comic, and it was something that he said that stuck with me so much, was that one of the reasons he stopped being a comedian at the end of the day was because it invested so much of his time that if at a certain point in his life he was like, I can't give the stand-up the time that it needs for me to continue being as good as I am. So therefore I'm going to stop. And back when I read this, I was like, wow, that doesn't make sense. But now I could totally understand where you're like, hey, you know what? I want to be current. I want to be at the best of my game. But now I'm this age and I'm involved in other things. You know what? I just can't. I don't have that space in my mind to occupy it with stand up. And also, I want to give it now to something else. That's what he was saying.
I love what Steve Martin did with when going out on top.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, not many people can do that.
Yeah.
All right. Final question. And then we'll do sax talk.
Okay. Has this been good?
This has been great, dude.
Okay,
I've been loving it.
Okay.
Dude, I think listeners are going to dig this, man. Yeah.
I hope you guys are having a good time.
Dude, I think everybody's having a good time.
Okay, cool.
At Colin_Zach, have you ever seen the hit movie La Bamba?
Yeah, I love that movie.
That's the whole question.
I love that movie. Richard!
Dude, I think he just wanted to know, man.
I love that
Sometimes
movie.
you just got to ask that question.
Oh, hey, and I didn't. The only thing I was gonna say, the guy asked, were they receptive to comedy?
Yeah.
I would say this: we're not doing comedy. That's the.
It's a different kind of form. That way. Yeah. Whenever
I'll tell you,
if you're telling stories or whatever, it's a different expectation versus and welcoming people to a show rather than here are set up punchline, because then the expectations, people are like, wait, what are you doing, man? Like, I'm here to see the
reason I was able to say like say to myself on the first leg, like, hey man, what are you here to do? Yeah, you're DJ and you're co-emceeing a certain part, like when I use the word it's definitely Jim's, and this is where I got that idea from. I mean, Jim said, hey man, this was his words to me. Hey, when you introduce me as, ladies and gentlemen, or whatever. Hey man, please welcome your MC and host and diehard Metallica fan, Jim Brewer. That was his thing.
Wow.
And when he said that, I was like, he's a legend. And he even was like, you know what? It's not
about that tonight.
I'm about your host. I'm about
making the show
there you go.
The best experience possible.
There you go.
I mentioned this whenever I had Josh Adam Myers on this podcast, but whenever we did, all right, man,
Joe Sib, no, Joe Sib, I haven't cut. You gotta come on my podcast. We're gonna talk about Jane's addiction. Oh my god, is that from just like? Did he just smoke cigarettes from the time he was like?
No, he posted a video of him as a teenager, and he sounds like this. It's just how it sounds, man. Okay. Oh yeah.
I first of all, he makes you and I seem not happy. Josh is like one of the most I met him. He was another guy I met when I first started doing stand up and just became friends with him. And I love him. And I love how much, he can sing. The guy,
great energy, dude.
Great energy.
We mentioned, so DJ Cypher Sounds, he was DJing Madison Square Garden with the Impractical Jokers. And Josh and I just went to go support and hang out with the guys backstage. And so I've already told the story, but it's one of those things where we didn't do stand-up whenever we went up there, but they asked us to go up there and hype the crowd and riff and do our thing. And they had already seen a couple stand-up acts, which had not done great because everybody was there for the Impractical Jokers. They were specifically there for those guys. They're diehard fans.
Can I tell you how much I just recently, I know everyone's going to be like, what? I just recently on this, the last month, discovered them.
Yeah. Dude, my mom and everybody back in Kansas just... Yeah, they love them.
Yeah. I love how old they are. Can I tell you that right now? That it's I thought it was going to be like a bunch of
these young prankster guys.
And I'm like, dude, these are 3 or 4. How many are there? 3 guys?
4 guys.
Yeah, 4 out of shape dudes that just are. They're having the best time hanging.
Yeah, they're
together.
best friends hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they brought you out to riff?
Yeah, and we blew up the crowd because we were present, we riffed, and we got people involved in the show, and we got everybody clapping and standing up, and we got this dude to stand up out of we had one guy who was sitting down, and we got the whole Madison Square Garden to start chanting, "Get up, get up," and then finally he gets up. And the roof explodes off of there, and dude, we're just dancing and being stupid,
because you didn't say, hey, I'm gonna use this tool. I'm gonna use what they asked me to do. Get the crowd
exactly.
Hyped.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I think. And Jim knew it before me. He was like, that's what I'm gonna do, and that's the reason it's working. And Yeah, there's parts of the show. I wish you could have came to the Fresno show. Like we do this sing along thing right before the band comes on, where we're like, look, man, we're gonna play these 6 metal jams, and if you don't know these songs, you're at the wrong show. But you know what? We're gonna put the lyrics up there for you, and everyone sings like a Sabbath into like Pantera, and it's this moment where like you have all these people from all over the world, totally different, but for this one moment, they're all singing along. It's. But once again, hosting, not like, hey, I'm gonna throw a singer out there.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to throw my type 5 in here that I'm trying to showcase. Like, no, dude, let's make it about the show right here, right now, tonight.
Yes.
Let's get into this final segment tonight. Sax talk.
Oh wow.
Oh, sax talk. Now, I prepped Joe before we started. Joe is going to share a story of a sexual encounter, and I'm going to play some sweet, sweet saxophone underneath, and I will follow you whenever you're ready, brother.
Hey, can I ask you a question? I thought about this today.
Sure.
When I was growing up, I used to listen. My parents used to play Boots Randolph. Do you know who that is?
No.
Yeah, Boots Randolph. He's a saxophone player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was awkward. You don't know? Okay.
I'll have to look up some Boots Randolph, but
how great would it be?
He definitely has a saxophone name.
How great would it?
Boots Randolph.
Yeah. How great would it be if that like was the like I'm fucking out of here then. If you don't know who Boots Randolph is.
Yeah, like that was the tipping point.
Not gonna tell
after
the story.
Everything.
Yeah, you know what, dude?
You don't know who Boots is, man? Dude, I can't do this show anymore, man.
Bullshit. Okay.
Get out of here.
All right, so
here we go.
Tell me, okay, so and then you just play.
Yeah, I'll follow you along.
Follow me.
Yeah, you narrate the story, and I'll just accent it with some sax.
All right. I'm going to count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's about probably 1993 here on the streets of Hollywood. Okay. All the music in all the bands I ever played in, people would ask me, wait, when do you start? There you go. You start it, and then I'm going to jump in. Set it up for me. So all the bands I was ever in, people always ask me like, hey man, did you ever like hook up with any girl? Like you're a singer in a band. Did they ever cruise up and be like, hey, me, you, let's do this? And the answer is no, because like the music I played was always like just circle pits and men and yeah, let's go. And there was a lot of girls there, but my wife says, no one wants to get together with the spaz. But sometimes, your luck can change. And if you play your cards right, maybe there might be some in the audience that's like, wow, man, like, you know what? Maybe I would like to get together with the guy that's the spaz. All right. So I come down to LA. We're playing this show right up the street from here at this place. It used to be called the Coconut Teaser, right? And it was kind of like a jazzy place, but then they had punk bands there. And I was in a super good mood that night. A couple beers. I remember I had red spiky hair, and I was feeling good inside. But because sometimes when I'd be on stage, I wouldn't feel that good inside. Like I'd kind of go to a dark place. I might even be sad. So sad. But this night I was feeling super good. I was like, yes. I'm almost forgetting the story. All right, so I'm sitting there on stage, and
we spend 9 hours telling this story because you're like,
okay, we're gonna save it to the end. It's so great. I've always wanted to do a show where they're like, how like Adam Ray and Avery do. Like, God, I love. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to get to the story. And then, so I'll fast forward. Here we go. So that particular night, I go to the Coconut Teaser. I'm in my band. We play our set. And this has never happened to me before. This young lady comes up to me and she's like, wow, blah, blah, blah. One thing leads to another. And at this point, I wasn't living in LA. And she said, hey, do you want to go to the Valley? And I was like, what's the Valley? And she's like, I live in the Valley. I have a roommate. We can go back to the house. And, you should come, man. I was like, wow, is this really happening? So before I know it, I get into her car. But before I left, because I'm super paranoid and I didn't want to get like, I know this is crazy. I'm like, what's this girl going to do to me? But like, I was nervous. So I grabbed our guitar player and I'm like, yeah, you got to come with me, bro. So now we're driving around and we're on our way to the Valley and I'm kind of making out with this girl. And I'm like, wow, This is escalating way quicker than anything's ever escalated. We get to their apartment that they share, right? And it was me, my guitar player, this other guy, and the girl I was with. And when we get in there, the girl that owns the apartment has a guy with her, and they immediately disappear into her bedroom. And it sounds like they're lifting weights in there. Like it's just going on. So then I take our guitar player and I go, dude, just lay on this couch, like here's some beers for you. And there's no place for me and this girl to go except in the living room. And things are escalating. But as I'm kind of in the living room looking around, I'm seeing pictures of the girl that just went into the bedroom. And it's not the dude that went in with her. The dude that's in the photos is this like biker, Guns N' Roses, gnarly guy. So even in this in this not stupor, but in this mind, I'm like, wait a minute, like, okay, the girl that's in there, that's not the boyfriend. Okay, whatever. Like, I don't know. I guess that's happening. Okay, guitar player, he's passed out on the couch. Okay, here we go. And I'm with the girl, and it's escalating quick. And before I know it, because I practice safe sex, I'm putting on the condom, and I'm like, okay, dude, this is gonna happen. And I was like old school. Like I asked so many times, is this cool, to the point where she was like, yes, this is cool. I want to do this. And I must have taken so much time, because all of a sudden, an amount of time had gone by. And right when the deal's about to happen, it's going to happen. Lovemaking is going to take place right then. Boom, boom, boom on the door. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I remember she's like, oh my God. And I put my pants back on. What's going on? Grab my guitar player, look through the people. It's the dude that was in the photo, and he's there in real life. I'm like, holy shit. And all that's going through my mind at this moment, Jeremiah, is I'm like, that dude's going to come in here and just start wailing on people. But maybe he won't wail on me and my bro's already drunk, if I act drunk. So as the girl starts to open the door, and I remember saying to her, don't open it. He kicks it open. The chain goes flying everywhere. Now he's face to face with me. And he's like, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, oh, and I don't know why I did this. I started pretending I was like blackout drunk. I'm like, hey, it's bro, dude. Yeah, man. So he's just looking at me like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, is he on the spectrum? Like, what just happened to him? So then the girl is kind of like trying to keep him away from the bedroom, because his chick is in that room with some dude that she met at the club. And all I remember is this. He's looking around like, where's Sandy? Where's Sandy? And I'm just like, I don't know. And I'm looking at our guitar player, dude, get the fuck up. We gotta go. We're going to the door. And the last thing I remember is he's going around the apartment and he's going towards the bedroom. Gave me a few minutes to grab my shit, and all I saw him do is kick open the bedroom door, and I just saw a naked dude standing there, and the girl like, what are you doing here? And the last thing, as I bolted out the doors, I just saw the Harley Davidson, just got out of prison, tattooed guy go into the room, and there was no way out of there. So all that went through my mind is, oh my God, the guy's gonna have to fight naked. Like how is that even possible? And I remember we run down the stairs, getting into the girl's car, and I go, you gotta drive us back to where we're staying. We're driving there. Finally, the night's over. We go into the place that we're crashed at. Guitar player and I start to laugh like, oh my God, that was gnarly. And then I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. And I go, all right, man, I'm going to crash out. And I go into the bathroom to take a leak. And as I start to take a leak, I realize the condom is still on throughout all of that. That's it. Sax talk.
Man, that's a great sax talk.
Yeah.
Dude.
And that was the only time that playing in a band I ever had anyone like.
And that was the last time I wore a condom.
God. It was funny when you asked me this story, because I told my wife Karen, I was like, what story should I tell? And we're laughing, and even she knows that story. She's like, tell the time that, you almost got laid, but you still had the condom on. And she's like, only those things happen to you. Like,
Yeah.
everyone else would have had a normal night, but instead you almost get beaten up, and then you leave a dude that's in a room. I always wondered what happened to that guy.
Dude, he's dead, man.
You think he's dead?
Oh, he's for sure dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I bailed on him.
Hey, man, you tried to warn him.
I did. Because, dude, I'll tell you right now, I was talking loud like, hey, man, there's no one here. Like that stuff.
Yeah, doing that old sitcom thing.
Yeah, totally.
Bro, thanks so much for doing the pod, man.
Jeremiah, thank you so much, man. And I want everyone to know right now, like I said, I met Jeremiah when I started doing stand-up, and I will say this, that he is one of the nicest, like when you're in LA or any city and you're just trying to find your way and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing here? It was always the best. Even when I wouldn't say hi to you, like I would see your smile and just see you, and your energy is so positive that, even though I wouldn't talk to you sometimes, it shows. Like I'd see you and I'm, you know how it is. Like we're both doing sets.
Opposite sides of the room or whatever.
You're just like, oh, cool, Jeremiah's here. And I can tell you right now, no one's ever bummed on you. I want you to know that.
Oh, that's
like
nice. That's
everyone,
nice to hear.
like you are one of those dudes that's just liked by everyone.
Well, that's super
except
nice to hear.
you know who said
except that one guy. Ooh, he's got some things to say about you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, what do you want to plug, buddy, before you go?
Oh, hey, if you enjoyed this, and I totally understand if you didn't, but if you did,
dude, you crushed it. I love this episode.
All right. Well, anyway, I would love, follow me on Instagram, Joe_Sib. You can hit me up on Twitter, Joe Sib. I got a website, joesib.com. I also do a parenting podcast. If any of you have kids or you're thinking about having kids, you can listen to my podcast. It's called Rad Parenting. We've taken a break for a little while I'm on tour with Metallica. That sounds super weird saying.
That's a pretty good excuse, though.
Yeah, my host is...
I just stopped doing my parenting podcast for a little bit so I could tour with Metallica. Yeah. That's all good.
And I will say this, since I stopped doing the parenting podcast, my 14-year-old now vapes. I found a Coors Light in his room, and he has a hickey on his neck right now that my wife almost said, you can't go to school with the hickey on your neck. And we're putting makeup on his neck, and I was like, look, you're going to school with the hickey on your neck. So if you want any parenting advice, the name of our show is Rad Parenting, but it's called Rad Parenting. She's the expert, he's not. And basically... it's, over, I don't know, close to 200 episodes of all of the mistakes I made, but you really will. Like, I wish I would have started the podcast before I had kids, because I learned so much more about being a parent, being a better person. It's been great for my marriage. Like it's a great show. I wanted it to be fun, but it turned into like this thing that people really dig. And then, hey, come out and see me do stand up. That's what I love to do.
Yeah, dude, we just did a Skylar Stone show at the Comedy Store, and that was so fun, man. Dude, you too, man. We were on a lineup of killers, and dude, we held our own. It was great.
Yeah, that was like Joe Rogan. Was Whitney on that show? I think.
Yeah, I think Nick Kroll stopped by,
and then also
Ali Wong.
She showed up.
Yeah.
Just crushers. That room is so rad.
Oh, main room is my favorite, dude. Yeah.
I love that place. But thank you so much for having me, man.
Dude, love you, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, and if anyone wants to email me, joesib22@gmail.com.
Email them, dudes.
Bros.
Bye.
Late.
Say, guys.